Hi guys, today I wanted to talk a little bit about my expectations for writing. So I don't expect you to be a professional writer or grammar expert, but I do want to share some of my expectations for writing this course. So these are the things that I'm going to expect you to do as far as formatting for our essays and documents in this class. Now I understand that some professors require different things for their assignments. So a lot of this may be subjective. It may be things that I'm looking for that perhaps other professors may not require you to do or may require you to do something different. However, I try to stick to the MLA and APA standards as much as possible. Okay, so the first one is to make sure you always have a title. So we want to steer clear of uh, kind of generic, bland titles such as rhetorical analysis or essay, my report, okay, things like that. Those are not creative. Those do not catch the reader's interest. So even though there's no title page with MLA formatting, you should always have some sort of snappy, creative title. Think of your essay, think of your report as a movie. If it was a movie, what do you think the title would be? Okay, so make sure that you always, always, always have a title. The second thing is we don't want to use contractions in academic writing. Okay, so no, isn't, can't, couldn't, shouldn't, wouldn't. Okay, none of that. That's more informal writing. Okay, so make sure that you're finding better words to convey your meaning. Use a thesaurus if necessary. Also, this is a big one, okay? Never use first person or second person language. Now, unless it is a first person narrative, okay, so if it's like a personal narrative where you're telling a story from your point of view, then yes, you would have first person. If it's an informal creative writing piece, then you would have first person, second person language. So from first person, I'm talking about I, me, okay, my, that's first person language. Second person language would be you, your, we, our, us. Okay, you're not going to do that. I know you've probably done that in courses in the past, or in assignments for previous courses. Some professors are okay with it. However, this makes your paper very subjective. Okay, we write everything in third person in academic writing. So unless you're writing a novel, short story, some sort of creative writing piece, please, please, please keep it to third person. Watch your use of commas. There should be a punctuation document on our homepage, okay? Otherwise, you can go out, there's numerous sources, videos, etc. I know that this is difficult. This is something that a lot of people struggle with, but please, please, please watch your use of commas. Also watch your use of other punctuation. Make sure that you have punctuation, okay? Don't have run-on sentences, don't have big, lengthy paragraphs without punctuation. That's going to hurt your grade. That's going to hurt the meaning of what you're trying to say. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about, number 5, always have your name in the heading of your document. So in MLA formatting, okay, the easiest way to do this is to double click in this white area of space. Okay, so if you look at your screen on the left hand side, okay, you've got a ruler, right? That shaded gray area, that's your top margin. So if I just double click up here, okay, it'll take me to my header area. Then it should bring up a couple of icons. You've got header, footer, page number. Now some people go to header, okay, the easiest way for you to do this is to go to page number, okay, even though it's in your header, top of page, plain number 3, okay, because MLA formatting wants your last name and page number in the top right hand corner. So we're going to click on that. Notice it puts in the number, okay, then you're going to type in your last name. Okay, and add a space. Then I can click close header footer, or I can double click in this area. Okay, that's going to give me my running header on every single page. Okay, so for MLA formatting, you have to have your last name and page number on every single page. So then if I go to another page, okay, notice it automatically adds the next number, and so on. Now, on the first page only, okay, so I'm going to go back to my first page on my very first line. So right after the header, my very first line, okay, I'm going to put my name, so this is your name, okay, skip a space, okay, then your teacher's name, okay, professor's name, course name, and then the date, okay, so the date that you're writing the paper. So that's how we add headers in MLA formatting. For APA formatting, okay, remember that's a little bit different. All right, this is going to be just your page number and then an abbreviated form of your title. And we'll talk about APA formatting more later. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is sources. So when you're writing your paper, obviously you want to use outside sources, and depending on the assignment that we're doing, that could be 2 sources, 3 sources, 5 sources, or more. Sources back up what you're trying to say. It's like evidence. Think of yourself as an attorney, okay? You're trying to use evidence to either prove or disprove something. So in court, they have different pieces of evidence, and that adds weight to the prosecutor's argument or the defense attorney's argument. Okay, so think of yourself as an attorney, and the sources that you're using are backing up what you're trying to say. So when I read your paper, it shouldn't just be a bunch of sources, okay, and they do all the talking. They should be supplementary to what you're trying to say. So whatever your main points are, you should have evidence or sources to back that up. You never have more sources in your works cited page than in your paper. Okay, so when you get to the end and you start putting sources in your works cited page, it's called a works cited page because those are the works that you have cited within your paper. If you haven't cited, if you don't have in-text citations from that work, it should not be in your works cited page. Maybe in the past you've done works consulted, where you go out and you look at different documents and then you bring in information from those documents. Okay, this is works cited. So these have to be actually cited, referenced, quoted within your work. Conversely, you cannot have more sources in your essay, in your work, than you do in the works cited page. So if I have an in-text citation, if I have a quote from somebody, and that quote is not cited, okay, if that source is not cited in my works cited page, then technically that's plagiarism. Okay, I know that's being kind of nitpicky, but you have to have the same number of sources, okay, in your works cited page that you do in your essay. You have to have all the sources that are quoted in your essay within your works cited page. Now, notice I'm not saying how many times you quote that source. Okay, there's no quota on, well, you can only use X amount of quotes from this source. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about how many sources you have, okay, actual sources. Does that match up? If I've quoted 5 different sources in my essay, I need to have 5 different sources in my works cited page. The next thing on our list is grading. So typically I'll count off 1 point per error if that's a minor error. So if you're missing a major element, so if you're missing a works cited page or a header, okay, that can cost you up to 10 points. So for instance, let's say you have a run-on sentence. That's probably going to be 1 or 2 points depending on the severity of it. If you're missing a page entirely, okay, that's probably going to be 10 points or more. Works cited, if you're missing that, technically that's plagiarism. Okay, so please make sure if it asks for works cited or if you're using sources, you must have that page. Number 8 is very important. Always proofread. Have someone else proofread your paper. I know a lot of times we have deadlines and maybe we're finishing up the paper the night before or a couple days before. Okay, you're under stress, you're under a lot of pressure, you may miss something. Always have someone else look at your paper, even if they're not an English student, even if they're not an English major. They may catch something or something may not sound right to them. Okay, try not to make the same mistakes over and over. If I see the same mistakes made repeatedly on each assignment, okay, that's going to cost you. That tells me, that shows me that you're not looking at the comments that I leave on your paper, you're not trying to improve, you're just simply trying to coast by, okay? So please, don't make the same mistakes repeatedly. Try to learn. Properly double space everything, okay? I'm not going to ask for anything single spaced ever. So, what do I mean by proper double spacing? Okay, so here's my sheet, right? Okay, so I've got your name, my name, course, date. Okay, here's my snappy title. Okay, we're going to make sure that that is centered because we always want our title to be centered. All right, now there's a couple ways that I can do this. One, I can just right click and go to paragraph. That's going to show me all of my spacing. Now, for some reason in Microsoft Word, they love to have this 0 point before and then have like an 8 point after. What that does is that adds a lot of space after each line. It looks similar to double spacing, but it's not proper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to single and 0 just to show you the difference. Okay, let me select all and do that. Okay, so now everything's single spaced. To change this to proper double spacing, you can do this right off the bat, or you can double check this right at the end. Okay, make sure the before and after spacing is 0, 0. Then change your line spacing to double. Okay, that's going to change everything. So now, when I hit enter, okay, everything's going to be properly double spaced. So now I can double check, paragraph, okay, oh, it didn't change that one. Okay, everything double spaced. You can go to select all, right? Make sure everything is 0, 0, double spaced. Okay, now notice what it did. See, I already put a space in there, so then when I went to do double spacing, it added more space. So you can really mess up a lot of things at once, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and set this back to single, take out these lines. Now I can go in, select all, and change this to double. Boom. Okay, that's proper double spacing. Now I know that you can also go to layout, all right, up at the top. Go to layout and you have spacing before, after, make sure those are 0, 0. Okay, you can click the little arrow there and get to the spacing tab. Okay, so make sure that you always have everything properly double spaced. Okay, that brings us to number 10. Every source that goes beyond one line in a works cited references page should have a hanging indent. So let's pretend this is my works cited page. Okay, I've got works cited center at the top. Go down to my next line. Okay. So we'll say that this is my source. Okay, and let's say it goes to the next line. Oh no. Okay. Notice that both of these are left aligned. So right after Smith, underneath, okay, I've got whatever information. So if I have a source that goes to the next line, what do I have to do? I have to indent. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. The tricky way is you can hit return a couple times, then backspace, and then hit tab, okay? Sometimes that'll work, sometimes it won't. Or you can go up to the paragraph tab, okay? So click on the little arrow. Under indentation, where it says special, okay, change it to hanging. Boom, it adds your indent automatically. Now the other thing I need to do is I need to change my spacing. Okay, remember we want double spacing for everything. So first I'm going to change it to single, then I'm going to go back in, change that to double, make sure my before and after is 0, 0. There we go. Okay, so for your works cited page, if you ever have a source that goes to a second or maybe even goes to a third line, okay, make sure you have that indent. Again, to do that, you go up to the paragraph tab, okay, under special indentation, click on hanging. And this may be different if you're using Google Docs or if you're using an online version of Word. Okay, you may have to do some searching, you may have to do some playing around to get that. So in this class and other classes, we may be doing literary analysis. Okay, or anytime you're referring to an author, maybe it's an author from a source that you're using for a report. Do not refer to the authors by their first name. So unless you personally know the author, okay, maybe it was a personal interview, do not use their first name. Okay, you must use last name. So Hemingway said, or according to, you can use their full name, according to Charles Dickens, okay, according to John Smith, or according to Professor Smith. You may want to use their title. Okay, that's fine. Do not use the first name. A lot of times I'll get the question, what if my source doesn't have an author? Okay, so let's talk about that before we get into the formatting of that. If a source does not have an author, don't automatically discredit it. Okay, it may be a government document. Okay, it may be something by the USDA. Is that a legitimate source? Yes, but it may have like 100 different people that made up or came up with those statistics. It may not just be one author, so they don't have an author. If it comes from a website, it has a lot of sketchy pictures, advertisements, okay, if the grammar's off, if it looks bad, if it looks like something that's not well written or they're trying to sell you something, you probably want to stay away from that. Okay, so if it doesn't have an author, what do I use in my in-text citation? You use the title of the article. Now, let's say this was my quote, okay? All right, so that's my quote. There are no indications of cancer in the lab rats. Okay, I'm using that in my sentence. Here's my in-text citation. Now, for MLA, you know you're supposed to use last name and page number. Well, what happens if I don't have a last name, if there's no author? Title of the article, but you have to put quotation marks around it. So let's say the title of the article is rat cancer. Okay, so I just put quotation marks around it. Maybe it was a web article and didn't have a page number. That's fine. Okay, I can close parenthesis. Then I put my period. All right, period always goes after the parenthesis. So that's how you include a source that has no author name. In the Works Cited page, so you're going to check out Purdue OWL online to see how you do that, but basically it would be the article title first, okay, and then all the publisher information. The last couple of things that I want to talk about as far as expectations are, one, indent your paragraphs. Make sure that you have paragraphs that are indented. Indent your introduction, okay? Indent the first line of each paragraph. So this separates thoughts, it separates main ideas, main points. It's easier for the reader to look at your document, so make sure that you're indenting. Two, this goes back to that first person, second person thing. Never address the reader, okay? And what do I mean by that? I mean these flowery sentences like you wrote in 3rd and 4th grade where you say, today I'm going to, or this paper will show, this essay will talk about, this report is going to. That really makes your reader feel kind of dumb, okay? If you have to say this report is going to do this, then either your report is not coherent and it's not obvious for the reader what the report's going to do, or you're making the reader look stupid and saying, hey, this is what you need to get out of it, okay? Just do the report, do the essay, let it speak for itself. Don't use sentences like, you might not realize this, or this report will destroy the assumptions of, okay? Don't use those sentences. They don't have much substance, they make the reader feel stupid, and it's really just filler material, okay? So stay away from that. So these are a lot of my expectations, main expectations for writing. Please check the comments that I leave on your papers, okay? Make sure that you're going back into the paper submission, looking at the feedback that I've given for that, and make sure that you're correcting any mistakes. And please contact me if you have questions or concerns about that. Thank you. Have a great day.